There.
Come to El Arroyo, not Threadgills. Nobody
Yes.
watches the TV show anyway. They all watch it on the internet.
Oh well. So we missed 3 folks. Thank you, audience.
Ustream is down, and we can't do an after show, apparently.
All right, we're sorry.
If you have crawlers on, I can still post them on YouTube.
Okay. You want to?
Let's do just one. Let's take just
all right.
one after caller.
Muslim guy.
Yeah,
Muslim? Oh.
line 1.
Well, we don't... Okay, Brandon in Round Rock?
Yes.
We don't have very much time, but go ahead and state your question.
Yeah, if you want a whole theological argument, your best bet is to call next week.
Okay, well, it'll be a real quick argument just for you to consider for your own.
Okay.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
Okay, well, I grew up as an atheist, became a Muslim, so I've changed. From what I understand, you guys have changed as well, or were you always atheists?
I was always atheist. He wasn't.
I was Christian at one point.
Well, here's a simple argument. I know you probably get tired of redundancy, but I haven't really heard this anywhere, and it's very easy to understand. The argument is the logical composition of nature. So when you look at an airplane wing, you consider its properties. It's hard to make this quick. By the
Okay,
way.
I got an answer for you.
Okay.
IronChariots.org, search for argument from design.
No, I know how to consider the arguments. Well,
Yeah.
I'll make it quick then.
Yeah.
So we can
That's my
determine-
answer, though.
Yeah, there is a how are you able to tell that artifacts like airplane wings are in fact designed? What is your frame of reference?
It is by considering the properties of it.
No, but still, like you have two things.
Right.
You are confronted with something like an airplane wing, and then there are other things. How do you tell that one thing amongst many things has been designed? Because designed, implies a specific, set of activities that went into its creation. Like there's some sort of purposive, or purposeful, aspect to how this thing came about.
Okay,
Now,
right.
how do you distinguish? So how are you able to tell this thing versus that other thing was designed?
Exactly, and I'll answer that. So in order to use logic, we have to be aware. Would you agree with that?
Keep
You
going.
have to have awareness or intelligence to use logic, to have the ability to use logic, whether you're deciding logically what to eat or how to build something logically.
I'm
And
going to pull
Okay.
presuppositional apologetics.
yeah,
on that.
is this going to be? Yeah, this sounds like more precept. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very
This
quick.
really
So you
can't
can-
be done
you
in a few
consider the-
minutes after the show.
Yeah.
All right, well, you consider the properties of the wing. You can tell it's logically composed because its shape is logical. If it were illogical, like a wing, then it would not perform
What
this
in the
specific
universe
function.
would you consider illogical? What are you comparing it to?
Yeah. Like what would be an example of a non-designed thing,
Something
that
that-
exists? So I mean, like what do you think a non-deliberately designed universe would look like?
Well, you could use a rock as an example, even though I would argue that is designed, even though we don't understand
Oh,
its
so a
function.
rock
Okay.
isn't an example then.
Yeah.
So you basically have no way of distinguishing between designed and undesigned things because you think everything is designed.
Yeah, I mean that's what I meant when I asked you for a frame of reference. The watchmaker argument. You find the watch in the beach or the desert or wherever it is. You are looking at that thing and you say this is a designed artifact. Well, the watchmaker
How do
argument
you
is
know?
yes, because
Right, how do you know?
precisely. So what is the person making the watchmaker argument comparing that watch to? And I'll tell you, they're comparing it to the surroundings in which the watch is found. The
Right,
beach,
so what
the
are you
forest.
comparing? You are comparing the properties of the
So-
object, right?
So what that
do you
means
compare?
is if the watch is being contrasted with its natural surroundings, the
Right.
clear implication of that is that the natural surroundings are a non-intentionally designed thing, unlike the watch. So the
Okay, so
watchmaker
does-
argument is self-refuting.
No. Does a wing occur naturally?
Oh, yes.
Yes?
Yes. So if you found an airplane wing and a bird wing, how would you tell which one is designed? What
You
criteria?
would tell by certain properties that they have with other things we
Exactly.
are familiar with from humans who we know to design things. It's
Yes.
not a question of their complexity or non-complexity.
I know
it's
it's
by
not complexity.
Yeah. What?
Right. It's the properties. It is whether or not it is logically composed to perform a specific function. The use of logic by the
But you're
wing.
missing a context there, which is that we know we live in an advanced technological society in which engineers exist who design
So-
and build airplanes.
So then there's no need to compare it to nature because you can already look at something and tell whether or not it's designed just because you already know an engineer made it. So
Again,
what's the point of comparing it to nature?
So you're agreeing with me that that a bird wing is natural rather than designed, and that's the difference.
No, natural is just a matter of material. Everything is natural. I'm saying if you found a bird wing and an airplane wing.
Again, how do you distinguish? I mean,
Right.
how would you say, how do you know that an airplane wing is designed versus other naturally occurring wings like those on birds?
And
Like
that's what I'm explaining. Right. So you look at the properties. You consider the material and the shape. You determine whether or not it's logical based on its function. So you look at if it.
So again, what's an illogical thing? What are you comparing it to?
Yeah.
Right. Something that does not function, or
Such as?
the composition does not complement the function.
Such as what?
Such as what?
Well,
Like a rock, right?
A
hang
heap
on.
of metal, a pile of bricks. A pile of bricks does nothing. Its shape does not matter.
So you're
when
saying that that thing is undesigned.
Right. I mean, bricks, we know that we shape them. But I'm saying if you found them, or a pile of dirt, whatever, materials that are not structured in a
But
way
you
that
still
perform a
think
So
that
there
thing
are-
was
there-
created by God.
But there are not. So there are non-designed things.
Well, I argue that everything is designed, but I'm using an example
well,
of what
then
you would
you
Well,
haven't
how-
given answered the question.
How are you arguing that everything is designed when you have just listed something like specific, like a pile of dirt, as being a non-designed thing that you're willing to concede isn't designed?
Because I'm giving you an example of what you might consider non-design, like a pile of materials. But dirt is designed because it performs functions. Just because we don't know the function of a rock doesn't mean it's not designed.
What would
Okay.
be then a
I'm done.
designed function of a rock? I'm still not sure what your frame of reference is, because you keep insisting everything is designed. So if you have no concept of non-design, how do you know that there is in fact design?
We have a concept of non-design. If you have a pile of
You
metal,
haven't.
If you have a pile of metal, is that pile of metal designed?
You tell me. I mean,
it's not.
there is molecular. A pile of metal is not designed, but
Right,
there
it's not
is
designed.
molecular complexity to that. Even the property that makes up that metal, the elements of that metal. You can go down and look at it, in electron microscopes and see that there is structure there. So, but are you willing to admit though that that structure is naturally occurring rather than
So what you're
deliberately
saying-
designed?
So what you're saying is anything that is not in nature is automatically designed, and therefore there is no need to determine what is designed or not, because you just assume.
I am
that
asking
everything-
you how you determine, at a basic
Right.
level, a designed artifact versus a non-designed, naturally occurring thing. That is what I'm
Exactly.
asking you. What is your frame of reference?
You determine whether or not it has an obvious function, say flying for a wing, or even an entire airplane has multiple functions like landing. You look at the composition, which is the shape, the material, and then you determine if it is shaped and built to perform that specific function, because that would mean that the shape, the composition, is logical. In order to build something
So if
logical,
something has a
you have to be aware.
function, so if something has an identifiable function, then
Right.
actual design went into it. That is your argument.
No, if it has an identifiable function and the composition complements that and that allows it to perform that function. If a wing were square, we could easily, if a wing were say a square concrete block. Well, obviously it wouldn't be a wing. It wouldn't have any function. We'd say, well, what's the point of this? It just sits here. It doesn't do anything. But if you have a wing that is shaped like a wing, that scientifically we know produces lift because it has to be that shape, and its material allows us to do that. Like the shape of a bird's body is logical. It has to be shaped that way. to
Okay,
allow it to
explain
fly.
flightless birds.
They don't fly, but they have other functions like walking, digesting food.
Well, so why put wings on them if they can't fly? What is the point of the designer? Was he just having a lark that day? Just like, I know, lol, it will be hilarious to design all these birds that can't fly. I'll give them wings just to fuck with them and let them, just kind of flutter around looking very silly on penguin documentaries, flapping their useless wings.
Well,
I mean,
ignorance-
what is the point of such design? What is the point of senseless design? I mean,
Well, ignorance of the design doesn't mean that there is no purpose of it, and that's besides the point anyway, because we're talking about how we determine design.
yes, I've been trying to get that from you for a while, and all I've gotten so far is that there has to be an identifiable function, and the construction of the thing has to fulfill that function.
Right, so if we found a wing...
So what that means is that there is a God up there designing birds that fly, but there are flightless species of birds that just sort of pop up by accident with no God behind them at all.
And we know they are designed because they have other functions which fit the same criteria of determining whether or not it's designed. Their digestive system, if its composition were illogical, then it would not perform the specific function consistently, just like a plane that was built without logic. If you built a plane without
I
logic-
don't consider it especially logical to put wings on a thing that can't use them, but hey, at least it's digesting food.
Okay.
I don't see the logic behind that.
Is the shape and the material of a blue jay's wing logical
Mm-hmm.
with regards to its function? Is its shape logical? It's a very simple question.
What is
Obviously.
okay? So what in your mind would a non-designed thing appear to be? What is? Give me again. Tell me what a non-God designed or a whatever you want to call it designed universe would look like. How is it? And because this would need to be your frame of reference in order to determine there are all of these things in nature that are clearly designed. I have to be able to tell you if these things were not designed. Because this is falsifiability. This is a basic scientific precept. So to be able to say, here's the thing, it is designed, and I know this because lacking design, it would work in these other ways, or it would fail to work in these other ways. So what would non-design in nature look like?
Okay,
Give me an example.
I know you're smart, so you should go understand this very basic point I'm making now. Just because you conclude that dirt is not designed, or if you concluded that a pile of dirt is not designed, you could still conclude that all of the creatures are designed by my argument, which I couldn't explain in more detail. And so therefore, you could conclude that nature was designed. So even if
Why would I make that conclusion? Why would I make that leap?
Because-
Explain the logical leaps that you're making.
No,
I
because
mean-
you look at a wing and you consider its composition, and you say, well, this is clearly built with logic, because if the wing were made out of dirt,
How is it
or
built
made
with
out of
how is it
rock-
built with logic? Because again, we have
Okay,
wings on flightless birds. We have an entire long development where we see how organs and and limbs and certain things that animals use that serve certain functions, biologically for them, didn't always do that sort of thing. Had to kind of evolve into that state, right?
I mean, let me talk. I can answer your question very simply. If the shape of a bird's wing were square, is that logical or illogical?
It doesn't matter. I mean,
What do you mean it doesn't matter? What about an
because seems to me a creator God who willed this universe into existence, with his mind, could very easily have square-winged birds that flew around if he wanted to. I mean, if we're talking about an all-powerful deity, see, this is why design arguments don't make sense. You are talking about an all-powerful God, a deity who uses his will, the sheer force of his will, to wish universes into existence. And so
As opposed to chance.
and so as opposed to chance, again, why wouldn't a God have? Why can't human beings breathe water? Why can't we breathe methane? Why are there no life forms floating around in the vacuum of space? There are no limits to this God's creative abilities. When we see life forms existing within certain biological and natural niches, what we are seeing is what we would expect to see if nature were something that was taking its course, in which life forms were simply adapting on their own from generation to generation to these
Randomly?
conditions. You introduce a magical deity into
Not magical.
Okay, then explain the creation of the universe mechanistically. What happened when God said, "Let there be light," for light to occur? Explain the entire mechanistic process if it's not magic. When a
not my
being
argument,
says,
Mark.
"Let there be light," how does he create light? Where does the light come from? How does it get there?
That's beside
It's
the argument.
magic,
My
dude. You
argument is that
believe in
design
magic
must
and
be
it's
aware
bullshit, and I'm
because
hungry.
nature is-
Bye.